In this box is the 2024 Samsung Galaxy Chromebook Plus, a premium clamshell Chromebook with a 15.6-inch OLED display. This one has the Intel Core 5 processor with 8GB of low-power DDR5 RAM, 256GB of embedded universal flash storage, and it's the thinnest and lightest Chromebook Plus on the market right now, and the first Chromebook to feature 3 new keyboard keys, including the new Quick Insert key that I'll show you later in the video. This one is a loan unit supplied to me for review by Samsung UK, but as usual, all the views are my own. Retail price at the time of filming is just under £750 for this Core 5 processor version in the UK. There's also a Core 3 version, and that's just under £650 in the UK and $700 in the US. Let's get into the unboxing of this Samsung Galaxy Chromebook Plus and start to take a look. Okay, so first up we've got the charger on the right hand side here. So this should be a 45-watt USB-C charger. So it's got the connection on there, and in just a second we should find that there's a USB-C cable inside the box for it. Obviously I've got the UK plug, which just pops out with the earth pin at the top. Okay, let's pop the Chromebook out and see if we find the cable for that USB-C charger. And yeah, should be wrapped up nicely in this little packet here. Oh, bit of paperwork falling out as well. If I pop that open, there we go. This has actually been unused. It is a review unit, so the whole thing has been opened before, as you may be able to tell, but it looks like this perhaps hasn't been used. So you've got a bit of paperwork and the cable for the USB-C charger there. Let's move the box to the side and take a look at the Chromebook. So here it is in the Neptune Blue colour, just that really subtle blue, almost looks a bit more grey in some lights, but I think that's really nice. Let's just remove the protective layer from inside the keyboard deck. I'll just pop that out, we will come back to that later. Okay, so it's a full metal outer chassis. Feels really good. It's extremely thin. I'll show you that in just a minute. With that thinness though, it's still keeping a good amount of strength through it. Just seeing if there's any give. Okay, just because I have tested this on other Chromebooks, I can click the trackpad slightly when pressing here. Not too concerned, as it really is feeling really rigid. So with a 15.6-inch display, it's crazy how light this Chromebook is. So it weighs just 1.17 kg, that's about 2.58 pounds. So incredibly light, really nice having a screen of this size and a device this big, but not weighing a ton when you put it in your backpack. It's also just 11.8 millimeters thick, so as I mentioned at the start, it's the thinnest and lightest Chromebook Plus. And when you consider it's the largest too, it's kind of crazy that as a 15.6-inch Chromebook Plus, it can be lighter than all the 14-inch models, many of which I've shown you on the channel. For ports and connectivity, on the left-hand side, we've got an HDMI port. Samsung themselves don't seem to state the version. Currys in the UK list it as version 1.4. There's 2 USB-C ports as well. Samsung, again, not stating the version. I'd hope 3.2 Gen 2, but can't guarantee that. And there's an LED power or charge indicator. And over on the right, starting on the left, there's a microSD card slot, there's a full-size USB-A 3.2 port, and there's a headphone microphone combo jack. For wireless connectivity, it's Wi-Fi 6E, and for Bluetooth, it's 5.3. Taking a look at the bottom of the Chromebook, and there is a ventilation grill for the processor and the fan across the bottom there. You've got these rubber feet, 4 of them, on each of the corners. And then you've got the speakers underneath, unfortunately, but they're up in the corner that's going to be facing you as you're using it. So yeah, unfortunately, no keyboard deck speakers for this one. They're down here on the bottom of the Chromebook. I mentioned earlier that it's a full outer metal chassis to this Chromebook. The bottom sometimes feels a little plasticky to me, but it might be some sort of mixed material. It certainly feels nice and strong in all of the outside case. Let's open it up and start by taking a look at the keyboard deck inside this one. So nice big keyboard deck, all black in color. You can already see immediately a really big touchpad on this one as well. One thing you do notice opening the Chromebook up straight away is that the screen doesn't go back 180 degrees to sit flat against the keyboard deck. So this is as far back as it'll go. If you want to see how I get on with it and how I find using it day to day, do subscribe, do click the bell, and you'll get notified when I publish the full review. So back to the keyboard deck, and we've got a lot to talk about here. So all black in colour, a kind of matte finish, what feels like plastic to me, but it feels really sturdy. There's a lot of new keys to talk about and the layout, so we'll get into that in just a minute. The key travel itself, so really short, quite nice and quiet. So yeah, that's feeling really good. And for the touchpad, it feels really smooth. I can't be 100% sure on the material. I don't think it's glass, but it feels really impressive. The click mechanism is really nice, and for taps and gestures, it's really tight, no looseness to it. So yeah, really decent feeling touchpad there. So one of the new things immediately jumping out to me on this keyboard is these dedicated function keys to actually control the backlighting on the keyboard. So no longer having to use the Alt key with the screen brightness keys when you've just got these dedicated keys here to turn it up and down. So I'm just going to turn it down and see if this helps filming. So we saw the speakers on the bottom of the Chromebook before, and that's likely because Samsung have prioritized this number pad on the right-hand side of the keyboard. You've also got the arithmetic keys at the top of the keyboard here, so a little bit different. Nice to have that functionality, especially if you're looking for that larger Chromebook screen size to be working in spreadsheets and that kind of thing. Looking at some of the special keys this one features, so it's the first Chromebook to feature this, the quick insert key. I've made a quick YouTube short on that before that I can link you to if you want to learn more about it. But essentially, instead of this being where the launcher is, you've got this, the quick insert key. It defaults here to being a caps lock, but you can map it to other functions. And quick insert itself comes up with a menu when you're typing to let you quickly insert things like emojis, recent links, files, all sorts. So it's really useful. I'm trying to get more used to it. And I think using this Chromebook with a dedicated key will really help. But just to reiterate that point, so you can use this on a Chromebook without the branded key, but instead you'll use a shortcut that I show you in that video I mentioned. Because of the quick insert key being here, the launcher had to find a new home, and we've got it branded here with the Google G. So that is the new launcher. There's also a dedicated accessibility key up here on the top row with the accessibility person icon on it. And if you do want to see some new accessibility features that have been launched recently in ChromeOS, I've got videos both on ChromeOS version 131 and 132, including some really interesting new accessibility features, especially the face control feature that's just launched with ChromeOS 132 in January 2025, this month as I film this. There's also a dedicated dictation shortcut in the top right function keys here next to that accessibility key I mentioned, so this is going to let you quickly turn dictation on and off your Chromebook. It's also interesting to see that I think this is one of the first Chromebooks, if not the only one I've seen, with the FN function key down here, so again related to the top row functionality, and perhaps Samsung trying to bridge a bit of the gap between Windows and Chrome OS and users being familiar with their keyboard. I'm going to go ahead now and get set up with my test user so I can take you through the spec and the display in a bit more detail. And something I should have mentioned earlier, and you may be picking up on, it's a bit of a dust magnet. So I think this color and maybe the material don't help. But yeah, something I'm noticing and the camera's going to pick up on even more. Something quite cool during setup is you do get this new screen explaining about the new quick insert key and the new launcher key. So nice to see that and just familiarizing anyone that either is used to the old way of doing things or hasn't used a Chromebook before, exactly what those two keys are for. So while it finalizes setup of my apps, just to run you through the spec and the options. So in the UK, we've got the choice of two processors. We've got the Intel Core 3 processor 100U, or like I have here, we've got the Intel Core 5 processor 120U. So globally, the Core 3 seems to be the more common example, and in the US, I think that's the only version available. I think this Core 5 is available in other regions of Europe, and who's to say where else it'll become available later in time. You've got 8 gig of low power DDR5 RAM and 256 gig of embedded universal flash storage. Looking at the display in a bit more detail, for resolution it is Full HD, but we can see out of the box it isn't running at that level, so it's defaulting to 1600 by 900 there. So let's just adjust that and get that up to, where are we? Yeah, native resolution 1920 by 1080 to give it that Full HD resolution. If you then see how much more we're fitting on the screen with that YouTube video page, you can see we're just getting a bit more real estate on there. The other key specs of this 15.6-inch display, and it really is excellent, so it's AMOLED rather than IPS. So contrast and blacks in particular should look extra impressive. It's a 16:9 aspect ratio and the brightness is at a claimed 400 nits. And it does seem really super bright when I do turn it up, so I can fully believe that. It's got a more gloss finish, it's got a really quick response time, 1 millisecond, and it's a 60 Hz refresh rate. For the color space, we've got a new way of measuring it, at least to me. Samsung say it covers 120% of the Digital Cinema Initiative's protocol, or DCI-P3 for short to you and me. All I know on initial impressions is the color and the display in general looks superb. It's not a touch display, and I know that's quite divisive for some of you. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking on that. For me personally, prioritizing the lightweight nature of this device was probably the right decision to make, but who knows what we may see in the future. The bezels are nice and thin and fairly even on the sides and the top, but obviously a bit chunkier here on the bottom. But overall, a really smart appearance. At the top of the screen here, we've got the webcam, and it's a Full HD webcam to meet the Chromebook Plus requirements. Would have been nice to maybe see a Quad HD webcam or something that a little bit more premium, but still a Full HD webcam with the right software and features that Chromebook Plus offers is still excellent to see. No privacy shutter on this one though, but there is a blue light that will come on when it's in use. Let's talk about when ChromeOS updates are due to run to on this particular Chromebook. So we're coming to About ChromeOS in the bottom left-hand corner of the Settings app. We click into additional details here in the middle, and then we get the update schedule here. So updates to ChromeOS are going to last until June 2032. So initially I was expecting June 2034 as this came out in 2024, and we've had that news about 10 years of updates to new Chromebooks. But it comes down to a technicality really of when the actual processor and platform launched. So although these Intel Core processors launched in 2024, they are part of the refresh to the Raptor Lake U processors. They're still considered part of the 13th generation therefore, and that was launched, you guessed it, in 2022. Hence ChromeOS updates with 10 years running until June 2032. Definitely something to consider when you're looking at this and other Chromebooks you're comparing it to. Before we get into a bit of gaming, just one quick mention. I do like the fact that they've branded the launcher in the bottom left with the G logo, as well as having that on the keyboard. So yeah, rather than the round circle you normally have for the launcher icon, it's good to see that that's been updated as well. Testing out a bit of gaming with Real Racing 3, and it's looking great on this display. On the flip side of performance, Samsung claim up to 13 hours of battery life from the 67 watt-hour battery as possible. Something I'll look at in detail for the full review, so please do let me know in the comments anything else you'd like to see there. In the meantime, if you want another Chromebook video from the channel to watch, there's one on screen for you now. Cheers.